Hello everyone, welcome to BISP Solutions. I am Payal Makijani, your host for the evening, and today we're going to continue custom financial planning. In custom financial planning, in today's topic, we're going to learn about salary and headcount planning and how to use attribute dimension in data form and what is attribute dimension. I'll explain in this particular video itself. So let's move on to the first topic, salary and headcount planning. First of all, what is headcount? Headcount is the number of people working in a company or in a department at any given time. Okay, so why do we do salary and headcount planning? Um, is to it helps with budgeting and budgeting of the salary given by the businesses and company restructuring, career promotion, salary adjustment. These are the use cases of salary and headcount planning. Now, it determines the roles you need to hire. You can plan your recruitment efforts realistically, like when you need to increase your hiring budgets for part time or temporary retail staff during important holidays or season. For example, if you are launching a new service and you are working with a particular budget of salary, you will have to do salary and headcount planning to see in what resource you can pull out your resources and in which and how much salary resources you can put into your new services. Okay, so let me tell you an example for the salary and headcount planning. So here I have taken an example. Suppose our company, the company we are working with is Biltron Limited. It is the salary structure of Biltron Limited, where the headcount in the month of January was 20, and in the month of February it was 30, and for the month of March it was 40. So average headcount in the quarter one was 30%, right? And when we talk about average salaries, average salary for the month of January was 1500, February 2500, 3500 for March. For average salaries given by Biltron Limited was 2500 in quarter one, right? So how will we calculate salary? Salary would be head, head count into average salaries. So let us write a formula here. Salaries is equal to salaries equals to head count into average salary of that month, right? This would be our formula for salaries, right? Let us write in a proper format here. Control B. Right? Next, this is the first formula we are working with. This is the first formula we are working with, right? Next, what we want to calculate next is the miscellaneous employee expenses. So now here, I have been given an employee benefit percentage for the month of January, which was 15%, 33% for the month of February, and 48% for the month of March. For the quarter one, average employee benefit percentage was 0.32%. 0.32, that is 32%. Okay, so how we gonna calculate miscellaneous employee expenses is salaries into employee benefit percentage of that month, that is 4500. So here let me write the second formula. I don't know what's the problem with the Excel sheet. Yeah. So second formula here we will write is miscellaneous. Yeah. Miscellaneous employee expenses is equals to salaries into employee benefit percentage, right? This would be our formula. These are the two formula here we are working with in our salaries headcount of Biltron Limited. So how we gonna create a business rule that the business rule can formulate the data again and again into our while we forecast. Let's write the third formula we can see here is third formula here is total employee expenses. Total employee expenses is our salaries plus miscellaneous employee expenses. Third formula we can see here is for total employee expenses. Total employee expenses is equal to salaries plus miscellaneous employee expenses. These are the basic formula we deal with in our day-to-day life. These are the basic formulas we deal with in our daily life. Yeah. And now I'm going to show you how to create business rules from the formulas, the general formulas. Okay, now let's move on to our PBCS application. This is our home page right here. Let's click on to the navigator and dimensions. First, let's look out for the members we are calculating. Here we are calculating salaries, miscellaneous employee expenses and total employee expenses. Okay, so salaries I want. So let's find out income. It would be an income statement. Here I can see there is a labor expense here which would be similar to our salaries. So here I'll take this member 5110. Salaries is 5110. Right? Here let me write alias. Here let me write member name for simplicity. Right? Second, I want miscellaneous employee expenses, that would be workers compensation. Maybe workers compensation can be our miscellaneous employee expense. No, let's take 51120 as our miscellaneous employee expenses. 51120, right? So here are two things we are working in, and a total salary will be calculated in 51100. So the total employee expenses would be total employee expenses would be 51100. 51100. Though 51100 will include all these expenses, but here I am dealing with two. You can deal with all other members according to your requirement. So let's move on to our business rules. EPM, built on plan 1 formula. Okay, I've already here created salaries headcount, which I will show you later. First, let me create this with you. New. Here I am creating salaries headcount planning. Right, built on QBIS plan 1. So this kind of page shall occur. Select the member block, member account, right? Here, let's write our first formula. What was our first formula? It was for the salaries. Here, salaries is equal to 51110. So here I'm gonna write before equals to in the inverted comma 51110 is equals to, here what I want, average salary into headcount. Now let's move on to our application and see if I have headcount, and here I have created some drivers. So this is headcount, control C. Make sure you copy the correct name from the application, because application would pick what you will provide. Okay, so be careful with whatever you write. Control V, headcount into, what next I want, headcount into average salaries. Now I want average salary. Here is my average salary, so I'll pick up this average salaries. Control C, cancel, move into inverted commas, close inverted comma, and I have validate and save. There is some sort of occur. Okay, now let's, my form, this sort of a confirmation message displayed, the formula validated with no errors and was saved. Okay, so our first formula was validated and saved. Add, let's create another formula. Our second formula was miscellaneous employee expenses. What was our miscellaneous employee expenses? 51120. So let's write that in inverted commas. 51120 is equal to what it is. 51120 is equal to salaries into employee benefit percentage. What was the name for the salaries? 51110, right? Salaries 51110. So I'll write in the inverted comma 51110 inverted comma close, and then we'll write into, then we want employee benefit percentage. So let's move on to our application and see if I have created a driver. Here it is, employee ben percentage, whose alias is employee benefit percentage. Let's click onto the pencil icon and select, control C, cancel, control V, and validate and save. The formula was validated with no errors. Our third formula was A third formula was total employee expenses, that is salaries plus miscellaneous employee expenses. That I won't write because that is so obvious for the application, and I will show you how it is obvious for the application because here my sorry here here my total employee expenses member name is 51100, which is a parent member of 5110 and 51120. And this parent member has his its let me show you. This parent member has its data storage type is dynamic calc. Dynamic calc would automatically store the uh, calculate the calculate total of all the data of its child members, that is 1110 1120 1130 1140 and 1150. So it would automatically roll up and get to the parent member, that is 51100. So there's no need to give formula for the parent member. Okay, so now let's move on to our formula. Here we have created a formula, save and validate, and you can close. Right? Okay, close. Then this is the formula we created. Now we have to create a business rule, right? I have already created one, but let me tell you. Okay, salaries headcount. Wait a minute. Leave. This is our salaries headcount planning is our formula sheet. Now let's move on to the rules. Create new rule. Name, I'll give salary headcount planning. Application type EPM cloud. Application built on Q plan 1. Okay. So now what I want my formula to get into my business rule. So click on to plan 1 formulas, drag and drop this particular formula into in between this begin and end line. Okay, so just drag and drop in between. This is how my business rule created. This much easy. And then we'll click on to validate and save. Okay, now the confirmation message occurred, and then we can deploy our business rule by clicking onto the deploy icon. The deployment was successful and launched. This is how business rule is created. This was it will just require that the utmost attention and practice. A business rule created. Now we'll prepare a data form in which we will try to execute this business rule. All right, so click the cross and then click on the navigator forms. Again we'll create a form as salary and headcount planning. Okay. Okay, I have already. So salary and head count. Okay. Click onto the create icon. Write salary planning description. This is the sample data form. Next. Now this is the design phase of our data form. Now let's watch our vision clearly. So this is our vision. This is how I want to create my data form. This is exactly the way I want my data form. So now what are they? They are accounts. So I'll drag and drop them into my row, right? Here I want period, so I will drag and drop down my period, right? And now I'll set my data form. Click to the edit. I want statistics, my miscellaneous drivers. From miscellaneous drivers, I need first of all head count, right? Then I'll add the row. You can I want member name as well as alias. You can add here all the account here as only, but I want to create different rows for the ease of my working ahead. So I'll do that. Head count. Here, click edit. I want then average salaries, statistics again, miscellaneous driver, average salary. I'll remove this. Yes. For the ease of um, data, I am doing like this. You can do as per your need and likings. Third thing I want is employee benefit percentage. Next thing I want is add row. Edit. Then I want all the parent member and children of 51110, right? Gross margin, and this here it is. These are, I just need this, an I descendant of. Let's take only 51110 and 5220, right? And then I need this. Okay, save. Now select, I want, let's do it on actual scenario, entity 12,000, department 200, year financial year 23, version BU version, or maybe final version or BU version. Let's take BU version. Okay, job 79067. These are the member numbers. I descendants of quarter one. Okay, now our data form has been saved. Finish salary planning. Again, let's preview it. See, my data form created is exactly the same I wanted to create from. It's the copy of the Excel sheet we had, right? So now let's start filling. No, move to data, salary headcount. Let me check. I think I did something wrong. Let me do it again in a very salary. It already exists. Oh God. Let me create one more data form. Salary headcount planning. Next, account, period, base data, scenario actual, entity 12,000, department 200. Here we were working with the financial year 23. Version is BU version. Jobs 79067. Account. Here we're working with headcount. Add rows. Edit. Average salaries. Remove. Do it very carefully because it will have because things will happen like it happened with me right now. So edit. Financial I descendants of Q1. Okay, save. Okay, finish. We are working with form and salary headcount. Preview. Yes. I just need member name and alias. Save. Save. Okay. Finish. Move to the data. Headcount planning. Now we will put the exact same data as it is right here, 20, 30 and 40, 1500, 2500, 3500. 15%, 0.15, 0.33, 0.48. Right now, save. I forgot to add business rule here, which we created. Plan 1 rule, salary headcount planning. Add. Run after save. Click on to that. I can save. Let's move again to our headcount planning and save, and let's see if we got the confirmation message for our rule that ran successfully, and similarly the data appeared here, 30,000 for the labor, which is exactly same as our example, 75,000 for February, for 1,40,000 for March, and same with the miscellaneous employee expenses here, 4,500, 24750. So this was my requirement, and let and see it in smart view. Let's see it. See, and see, it is same. The calc manager represents the data which is same exactly as our requirement sheet. So this is how we do salaries and headcount planning. Let's move on further to our, this is the screenshot of our data form which we created. Now let's move on to our second topic, that is using attribute dimension in our data form. Now what is data form? What is attribute dimension? Attribute dimensions are dimensions that are associated with standard dimensions, typically used to display calculated values. Since they are dynamically calculated at retrieval time, they can add processing time to a report retrieval. Simply, if I say attribute dimensions describes the characteristics of a data which is used to analyze data based on the attributes and quality of a dimension member, only one attribute from a given attribute dimension can be associated with one member. Example, employees can be categorized on the basis of gender, that is male or female. Now, suppose we are working with an attribute dimension here, and we have so many offices in our entity, right? We have so many offices, we have so many departments. Suppose let name our department as A, B, C, D, E, F, G till, okay, we have 5 offices here, and they are situated in all part of country. They are situated in north, south, east and west, and in central India. Okay, so there are so many offices which are situated in all the five, um, in the 5 directions of India. Some, suppose in north we have in, department like A, offices like A, C, G, and L, right? And in south we have D, H, and K. So this is how we have so many offices in different parts of India. E, F, I, O, right? This is how my entity is divided in the different directions. So now these are the attributes. If I want to see data, particular data of particular data, like Biltron Limited want to see the revenue of all the entities in the north direction of India. So how we gonna see it? We don't wanna remember which, who all entities are in the north. We just have to click it and see um, how many entities appear. So these are the attribute dimension right here. These are called attribute dimension. Let me first tell you how do we deal with attribute dimension in our PBCS application. Let's go to our application, vision application. Let's move on to the dimensions. See, here I am dealing with total departments. We have so many departments right here. Or plan. We have so many. Wait. We have four entities right here. Okay, now I want to create an attribute dimension. Click on to the icon, create attribute dimension, then add. Suppose divided by directions. Okay, save. This is how we create attribute dimension. Now click onto the child, create child. First add north, add south. Suppose we are having only, we have our entities in two direction. One is two are in north and one is in the south. All right. So now this is how we create attribute dimension, then close it. Now when we see to our entity, we have OEP, total entity, no entity, and unspecified entity right here. So click onto the entity and pencil icon, attribute values, north, save. No entity, attribute dimension, north, save. An unspecified entity is in south, right? Now I don't want to remember this attribute dimension is used when we are dealing with huge amount of data, when we want to categorize our data so that we can function properly and can focus on limited data, the data we want to focus in, right? So now how we will see the data. Let's work on smart view now. Okay. Click add smart view. Okay, so let's move on to our smart view panel, private connection, and then we are in control C, control V. Vision application. Okay, so let's get working with our currency. I No currency. Year financial year 23 period Jan entity. Now see that I want entity all the north entities. Let me see account revenues of all the entities working in the north direction. Here I don't have revenue, so let's take fixed rates entity. Now click onto the member selection, view hierarchy, and click onto the attribute. You get the search icon here divided by directions, and here you have two of the direction. Here I want north, so add, click on to add. Okay, okay. Here we have two entities working in north, that is total entity and company assumptions. Okay, refresh. See, this is how attribute dimension work. Attribute dimension divides all the data into a particular category through which we can operate. So now, how we gonna work with attribute dimension in our data form? Let me tell you by creating a data form. This is the sample attribute dimension data form I have created. Layout. When we see into the layout, what I did here is I have kept the account dimension into the page so that I can see different accounts. Suppose I want to see revenue. Sometimes I want to see expenses of all the um, entity, the department, and everything else. So I want my accounts to be in page so that I can change it again and again and see without any problem. And I have given all the members to my dimension. Here in the rows I have select, this is the jobs. Okay, this is the job my company does, and I have divided it into attributes. I have divided my jobs into category wise, type wise, status wise, office wise. I have given so many attribute dimensions for my users. Here I can I want my job with respect to my categories. So I have taken two categories, gen categories and HAZ category. Okay, see, and I have chosen the I descendants of year total. Save. Okay, and preview. When I see my data form, it's taking time to open. Save, finish. See, now you can see my data form right here. The category wise, all these jobs were selected, and I am seeing account here is contract revenue. The application here does not contain any data, so it's not showing any data right in my data form. But this is how we use attribute dimension in our data form. This was it about attribute dimension and headcount planning. Hope you understood it well. If you have any doubt, you can surely comment below and ask, and we will discuss it in our future videos. Thank you for listening patiently. See you tomorrow. Bye bye.